Hello, welcome to English R&L *. I'm so glad you're here today. This podcast is for learners like you. People who are not only working on their English fluency, but also on becoming better, stronger, and more confident in life. And today's topic? It might feel personal because it's something many of us go through no matter where we come from or what language we speak. Let me ask you a simple but powerful question. Have you ever felt stuck between who you are and who you want to become? Maybe you dream of speaking English fluently, but your daily habits still belong to the old you. The one who feels nervous, avoids speaking, or waits for the perfect moment to start. Maybe you want to feel confident, in control, and bold with your future. But something deep inside keeps pulling you back to your comfort zone. That's what we're exploring in today's episode. The powerful truth that you can't be who you were and who you want to be at the same time. Sounds intense, right? But it's true. There comes a moment in every life when we realize this. The version of us that brought us here can't take us further. Not because that version was bad or wrong, but because growth requires change. And change asks us to let go of old stories, old habits, and even old identities. You see, learning English isn't just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about changing the way you see yourself. It's about becoming someone who feels free, expressive, and confident in a whole new language. That's a big transformation. And like all real change, it starts with one decision. To stop holding on to the old you, the one that doubts, hesitates, or plays small, and to start stepping into the person you're meant to become. In this episode, we're going deep. We'll talk about what the old self really is, why change can feel scary, and how to start building the new version of yourself, not just in English, but in life. I'll share stories, examples, and reflections to help you think, learn, and grow. All in clear, natural English that fits your level. So if you're ready to take one small brave step toward the future version of you, then this episode is just for you. Let's begin the concept of old self versus new self. So let's start by understanding what we really mean when we say old self and new self. These words might sound simple, but they describe something very deep. Something that lives inside all of us. Your old self is not just about your past. It's the version of you that feels safe doing things the way you've always done them. This version of you follows familiar habits, uses the same thinking patterns, and reacts to life in predictable ways, even if those ways are not helping you grow. The old self is often built from past experiences, some good, some painful. Maybe you once failed at something, so now you avoid taking risks. Maybe people made fun of your English, so now you stay quiet. Or maybe you just got comfortable in routines that don't challenge you. The old self might tell you things like, I'm not good at this. I'll never be fluent. This is just who I am. It's important to understand that the old self isn't bad. It's not your enemy. It was actually trying to protect you. But what kept you safe before may now be holding you back. When we live too long in the mindset of the old self, we stop growing. We repeat the same habits. We avoid change. We fear judgment. And slowly we start to feel stuck, frustrated, or even hopeless. Now, let's talk about the new self. This is the version of you that you haven't fully met yet, but deep down you want to become. Your new self is confident. It's brave enough to try new things. It takes small steps every day, even if they're uncomfortable. The new self doesn't wait to feel ready. It acts, and through action, it grows stronger. This version of you shows up to practice, speaks even with mistakes, and believes in transformation. Imagine your new self for a moment. What are they doing? Maybe they're having a conversation in English without fear. Maybe they're applying for a new job, joining a class, or leading a meeting. Maybe they're just waking up each morning with purpose, not self-doubt. The new self is already inside you. But to fully become that version, something has to change. Here's a metaphor that can help make this clearer. Picture a bridge. On one side of the bridge is your old self standing on the ground you already know. It's familiar. It feels safe, but it also keeps you in the same place. On the other side of the bridge is your new self, the future you. The one who speaks with confidence, the one who doesn't hide, the one who grows. But here's the thing. You can't live on both sides of the bridge at the same time. You have to walk across. And walking across the bridge, that's the hard part. Why? Because it's not just about action. It's about identity. You're not only learning a new skill like speaking English, you're letting go of old habits, old stories, and old beliefs about who you are. That kind of transformation isn't always fast or easy. It takes time. It takes awareness. And yes, it takes courage. This is where many people get stuck. They feel pulled between the two versions. One part of them wants change, the other part is scared. That's completely normal. In fact, it's a part of every real growth journey. You might feel excited one day, then afraid the next. One minute you feel strong, the next you want to give up. That's what we call internal conflict. Two sides of you pulling in different directions. And yet, this is exactly where transformation begins. When you realize that, the fear doesn't mean you're weak, it just means you're growing. The old self wants to protect you from discomfort. The new self wants to help you rise above it. Every time you choose action instead of avoidance, you're building a new habit. Every time you practice instead of procrastinate, you're changing your mindset. Let's take a moment here and reflect. Which version of yourself have you been listening to more often? The old or the new? What thoughts come up when you try to change something in your life? Are they thoughts that encourage growth or thoughts that keep you small? Remember this, growth always feels a little uncomfortable at first. That's why many people stay the same. But if you're listening to this podcast, that means you're already crossing the bridge. You've already started your transformation. You may still hear the voice of the old self, and that's okay. But now you also hear a new voice, a stronger voice that says, I can do this. I am ready for more. I'm not going back. This journey is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real, becoming who you were always meant to be. Through consistent action, small changes, and a willingness to grow, you're creating your new self, not just in English, but in life. Now that we understand what these two versions really mean and the emotional struggle between them, we can begin to explore why change feels so difficult and what we can do about it. So stay with me. In the next part, we'll talk about why most people stay stuck and how you don't have to. Why change feels so hard. Now that we've talked about the old self and the new self, let's be honest about something important. Change is hard. Not just because it takes time or energy, but because it makes us face things we usually try to avoid. Fear, doubt, and discomfort. Even when we want to change, we often find ourselves stuck. We start strong, then slow down. We take one step forward, then two steps back. But why does that happen? Why do we struggle so much with change even when we know it's good for us? One big reason is something called the comfort zone. This is the space where we feel safe because everything is familiar. It's where our habits live. It's where we do what we've always done. The comfort zone doesn't challenge us. And that's exactly why we like it. Even if we're not happy there, at least we know it. The problem is growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens when we stretch ourselves, when we try something new, when we face uncertainty. And that can be scary. Let's say you're learning English. You've studied grammar. You understand most words when you read or listen. But speaking, that's different. That's where many learners feel fear. Not because they can't speak, but because they're afraid of making mistakes. So, what do? They stay quiet. They wait for the perfect moment. They say, that's just not who I am. I'm not the type of person who speaks in public. But is that true, or is it just the old self talking? This brings us to something deeper. Fear of failure and self-doubt. These are emotions that stop many people from growing. You might think, what if I make a mistake? Or, what if people laugh at me? Or, what if I try and I'm still not good enough? These thoughts can feel heavy. They create fear before we even begin. So, instead of taking action, we repeat the same behaviors. It's easy to think that sounds nice, but it's too far from who I am now. But let me remind you, every future begins with one choice. And the new you is built from small daily decisions. You don't need to know every step right now. You just need to know the next one. The new you is not someone else. It's still you, but with more courage, more clarity, and more intention. Here's something that helps many people. Write it down. Yes, actually write down your vision. Describe your new self. On paper. What are they doing? What do they believe about themselves? What is one habit they have that the old you didn't? You can start with these prompts. My new self speaks. My new self feels. My new self chooses. If writing isn't your thing, you can also speak it out loud. Record yourself. Talk to the mirror. The point is to get this image out of your head and into your life. Because the more clearly you can see the person you want to become, the easier it is to become that person. Now, I want you to remember this one sentence. The future you want is waiting. But it can't meet the old you, that version of you, the one who keeps waiting, who hides, who plays small, can't walk into the life you dream about. That life needs a different energy, a different level of commitment, a different mindset. That's why letting go is so necessary. You're not just trying to learn English. You're learning to live as someone who believes in their potential, someone who shows up even when it's hard. Of course, you won't become your new self overnight. Real transformation takes time, but it also begins now with this simple act of imagining. Once you can see it, you can start to build it. And the more you act like your new self, the faster you become that person little by little, step by step. So, let me ask you now, what does your new self look like? What does your new self say that you're not saying now? What is one thing they would do today that you can also do? Take a moment. Think about it. You don't need all the answers. You just need to begin because your new self is not waiting at the finish line. Your new self is built during the journey. And remember, if you can imagine it, you can move toward it. In our next section, we'll talk about what happens between the old you and the new you. The messy, emotional, confusing part in the middle that most people don't talk about. It's called the transition phase, and it's where real growth takes place. Stay with me. You're doing better than you think. The transition phase, the in-between. Now, let's talk about something many people don't mention enough, the messy middle. This is the phase between the old self and the new self. It's that confusing place where you're no longer exactly who you were, but you're not yet fully the person you want to become. And let me tell you, this part of the journey can feel uncomfortable, emotional, and sometimes even lonely. Imagine you're a butterfly. Before the butterfly can fly, it has to leave behind the caterpillar stage. But it's not an instant change. The caterpillar has to build a cocoon around itself, then spend time inside that dark, tight space while its body transforms. It's a vulnerable, quiet, and difficult process. The butterfly doesn't skip this phase. It has to go through it. This is a lot like your own transition. During this in-between time, you might feel like you're shedding old skin. The habits, thoughts, and feelings that no longer serve you. Just like a snake that grows too big for its old skin, you have to let go so you can grow. But that shedding process isn't always smooth. Sometimes it feels itchy or tight or uncomfortable. You might find yourself wanting to go back to old ways, simply because they feel easier or safer. At the same time, you are rebuilding from the inside out. This is the process of creating new habits, a new mindset, and a new sense of identity. You are putting together pieces that don't always fit perfectly at first. Some days you feel strong and clear, other days confused and doubtful. That's natural. Transformation is rarely a straight line. It's more like a winding path with ups and downs. In this stage, it's normal to question who you really are. You might wonder, am I really changing or am I just pretending? You might feel a little lost because the old self no longer feels right, but the new self still feels unfamiliar. This discomfort is part of the process. It shows you're moving forward. This is where patience becomes essential. Change doesn't happen overnight. It requires consistent effort even when the results aren't clear yet. It means showing up for yourself every day, even when you don't feel like it. It means choosing courage, the courage to face uncertainty and keep going. Consistency is the bridge over this confusing phase. Small daily actions add up to big change over time. Maybe today you practice speaking English out loud for just 5 minutes. Maybe you say no to one old habit that holds you back. These small choices build your new identity. Even if you can't see the full picture yet, remember the identity you are creating is not fixed. It's a work in progress. It's okay to feel like you don't have all the answers. It's okay to feel lost sometimes. These feelings don't mean you're failing. They mean you're in the middle of real growth. So, if you're feeling stuck or unsure right now, try to remind yourself this is a normal part of the journey. This is the time when the magic happens. You're breaking down old ways and making space for something new. It takes time, but every step counts. Think of it like building a house. You can't skip the foundation. You can't rush the walls. You have to be patient and trust the process. Eventually, you'll stand in a home that's stronger and better than before. In this phase, it's also important to be kind to yourself. You might make mistakes. You might feel tired. You might want to give up. When those moments come, remember that courage isn't about never feeling afraid. It's about feeling afraid and choosing to move forward anyway. So, how do you stay patient and consistent? One way is to celebrate small wins. Notice when you do something brave, even if it feels small. Another way is to remind yourself why you started this journey. What is your motivation? What does your new self dream of becoming? Hold on to that vision, especially when things feel difficult. The transition phase is challenging, yes, but it's also beautiful. It's where you learn the most about yourself. It's where you grow resilience, confidence, and strength. And it's the bridge that leads you to your new life. In the next section, we'll share some real-life examples of people who have gone through this transition. People who felt lost, scared, and unsure, but kept going and found success. These stories might inspire you as you walk your own path. So, take a deep breath. You're in the middle of something important. Keep going. Your new self is waiting on the other side of this process. Real-life examples. Let's take a moment to hear some stories. Real stories about real people who face the same struggle you might be feeling right now. Caught between their old self and their new self. These stories show us something important. Change is possible, but it's not easy. It takes courage, effort, and sometimes a little push. These examples might help you see yourself in their journey and feel inspired to keep going. First, there's Anna. Anna was learning English for years, but was always afraid to speak up at work. She understood almost everything and even wrote emails well. But when it came to talking in meetings, she would stay quiet. Anna told herself, "That's just who I am. I'm shy. I don't speak well." One day, Anna's manager asked her a question during a team call. Instead of staying silent as usual, Anna decided to step up. She took a deep breath and gave a short answer. It wasn't perfect, but it was clear and honest. After that day, Anna kept trying, speaking a little more each time, even when she made mistakes. It was uncomfortable at first. She felt nervous and worried about what others thought. But Anna chose to push through the fear because she wanted to grow. We avoid change. We stay in the cycle. That's why it's so important to break the cycle, to stop doing the same things over and over just because they feel familiar. The truth is, the fear you feel is not proof that you can't change. It's just proof that you're stepping outside of what's comfortable. Growth doesn't mean you won't be afraid. It means you'll keep going even with the fear. Another reason change is so hard is something we call identity attachment. This is when we hold tightly to the idea of who we think we are. We say things like, "I've never been good at languages," or "I'm just not confident," or "This is who I've always been." Even when these beliefs don't help us, we protect them. Why? Because letting go of them means we have to build a new identity. And building something new takes time and effort. It's not easy to say goodbye to the version of you that you've known for so long, even if that version is keeping you stuck. But let me tell you something important. You are allowed to change. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your old habits. You can learn. You can grow. And yes, you can speak with confidence even if you've never done it before. Here's a small story to help you see this more clearly. I once had a student named Sarah. She was a smart, kind person who had studied English for years, but she never spoke in class. Every time I asked her to share something, she'd smile and shake her head. One day, I asked her privately why she didn't speak. She said, "Because I've always been the quiet one. That's just who I am." I looked at her and said, "What if that's who you were, but not who you have to be?" She was quiet for a second, then she smiled and said, "Maybe it's time to let go." And that's the key. Letting go. Letting go of fear. Letting go of old stories. Letting go of the belief that you have to stay the same. It doesn't mean you forget who you were. It means you stop letting that version of yourself control your future. Yes, change is scary. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's also exciting because every time you choose to grow, every time you say, I'm not going to repeat the past, you are rewriting your story. You are becoming someone new, someone stronger. So, if you're finding it hard to change, that's okay. You're not alone. But ask yourself this: is holding on to the old version of me helping me, or is it holding me back? What's one belief I can begin to let go of today? You don't have to change everything overnight. You just have to be willing to take the first step and then the next one and then another. That's how we grow, one brave choice at a time. In the next part of our episode, we're going to talk about how to recognize when you're still holding on to your old self and how to start moving beyond it. So, keep listening and let's keep growing together. Signs you're holding on to the old you. Now that we've explored why change feels so difficult, let's go one step deeper. Let's ask an honest question. Are you still holding on to your old self? Even if you don't realize it? Sometimes the old self doesn't speak loudly. It hides in small habits, little excuses, and quiet thoughts that repeat in the back of our minds. That's why it's important to know the signs. When we can recognize them, we can begin to make real meaningful changes. Let's walk through some of the most common signs that your old self might still be in control. One sign is that you often talk yourself out of new opportunities. You see something exciting, a chance to speak in English, apply for a job, join a class, or try something you've always wanted, and for a moment you feel hopeful. But then the fear kicks in. The old self whispers things like, "You're not ready," or "You'll make a mistake," or "Someone else would do it better." And just like that, you say no. Not because you don't want it, but because you've convinced yourself you're not good enough. Sound familiar? Another sign is that you overthink every decision. Instead of acting, you hesitate. You ask yourself too many questions and none of them lead to action. You might say, "What if it goes wrong?" Or, "What if I fail?" Or, "What if I embarrass myself?" And because you're trying to be perfect or completely sure before doing anything, you end up doing nothing at all. This overthinking is often a protection strategy. It keeps you safe from failure, but it also keeps you stuck. You may also notice that you're always busy, but not really moving forward. You make to-do lists, clean the house, check your email, scroll on your phone. You do everything except the thing that would truly help you grow. This is what we call productive avoidance. It feels like progress, but it's really just another way to stay inside the comfort zone. Deep down, you know what you need to do. Maybe it's starting that conversation in English or signing up for that course, but somehow you never quite get to it. Another strong sign is when you often say the words, "That's just how I am." These words can be dangerous. They sound like truth, but they're really just walls. When we say, "I'm not a confident person," or "I've never been good at learning," or "I just don't like speaking in groups," we're not stating facts. We're repeating beliefs. Beliefs that the old self has been holding on to for years. But here's the truth. Just because something was true doesn't mean it has to stay true. You are not stuck. You are always growing if you allow yourself to. So let me ask you now, which of these signs feels familiar to you? Have you talked yourself out of something important? Do you overthink small decisions? Are you busy but not really making meaningful changes? Have you told yourself, "This is just how I am"? When faced with a challenge, it's okay to say yes. In fact, most of us have said yes to at least one of these, sometimes without even noticing. The goal here is not to feel guilty or ashamed. The goal is to become aware, because awareness is the first step to transformation. When you can see what's really happening, you can begin to break the cycle. Here's the thing. The old you is clever. It knows how to sound reasonable. It uses fear, doubt, and comfort to keep you in the same place. But once you start recognizing its voice, it loses power. You begin to hear another voice, the new you. And that voice says things like, "You can try. You are learning. You don't have to be perfect, just consistent." So, I invite you to pause for a moment and reflect. If you have a notebook, write this down. What thoughts or habits am I holding on to that belong to the old me? You don't have to change everything today, but what's one small thing you can begin to shift? One step that belongs to the new you, not the old one. Maybe it's speaking up, even if your grammar isn't perfect. Maybe it's asking a question instead of staying silent. Maybe it's saying "I'm learning" instead of "I'm bad at this." Remember, you can't create a new life with old patterns. You can't. Become your future self while repeating the past. The good news is you don't have to stay there. You're not stuck. You're just in a place of choice. And today you get to choose differently. In the next section, we're going to explore what your new self really looks like and how to start connecting with that future version of you in a real powerful way. So, take a deep breath and let's keep going, imagining your new self. Now that we've talked about the old self and the signs that it may still be controlling your life, it's time to do something powerful. It's time to imagine your new self. The new you is not just a dream. It's a real possibility, a version of you that already exists inside, just waiting to be brought to life. Your new self is the person you're becoming. They are more confident, more expressive, more open to life. This version of you doesn't hide behind fear or doubt. They don't wait for the perfect time. They take action. They speak. They grow. Let's take a moment together to imagine this version of you. Close your eyes if you can. Or just picture this in your mind. It's 6 months from now. What do you see? Where are you? Who are you talking to? Maybe you're having a conversation in English. Not perfect, but natural. Maybe you're finally doing something you've been avoiding. Speaking in a meeting, joining a class, or saying yes to an opportunity. What do you look like? What is your posture like? Are you standing taller? Are you smiling more? Now listen to the sound of your voice in this vision. Is it clear, calm, strong? You don't need to speak perfectly, but you speak with self-belief. You don't hide your voice anymore. You've learned to trust it. And that trust is what gives you power. This is the new you. And this version of you is not a fantasy. It's a future waiting for your decision. How does this person feel? Maybe they feel free. Free from the heavy pressure of overthinking. Maybe they feel proud because they didn't give up when things were hard. Maybe they feel peaceful because they stopped fighting who they were and started building who they wanted to become. Slowly, Anna's confidence grew and her English improved. She learned that speaking was not about being perfect, but about facing her fears and showing up. Today, Anna is one of the most active speakers on her team, inspiring others to try, too. Our second story is about Carlos. For many years, Carlos worked in the same job, feeling stuck and unsure if he could do more. He dreamed of starting a new career in digital marketing but doubted his skills and worried about failing. Carlos spent a lot of time thinking and planning, but never took real action. He was trapped by self-doubt and the fear of leaving what was comfortable. One day a friend encouraged him to take a course and start small projects. Carlos finally decided to take the plunge. He enrolled in the course even though he was afraid he might fail. The first weeks were tough. He made mistakes, felt overwhelmed, and sometimes wanted to quit. But Carlos reminded himself why he started. He kept learning, practicing, and applying what he learned. Bit by bit, Carlos built new skills and a new identity. He went from a hesitant beginner to someone who could confidently present his work. Carlos's story shows us that even when change feels scary, if we keep pushing through, new doors will open. Our last story is about Lena. Lena was naturally shy. As a child, she rarely spoke in class and avoided attention. But as she grew older, Lena realized that she wanted to become a confident speaker. She knew that if she wanted to change, she had to challenge herself. Lena started by joining a small local group where people practiced speaking English. At first, she hardly spoke and felt anxious. But Lena didn't give up. She set small goals like introducing herself or asking a question in every meeting. Over time, those small steps became bigger. Lena learned to enjoy speaking and even started helping others prepare speeches. What changed for Lena wasn't just her ability to speak. It was her mindset. She stopped saying, "I'm shy," and started saying, "I'm growing." Lena's journey reminds us that change is a process. It's about small actions that add up to big transformations. What do these stories have in common? They all show us that fear is normal. Fear doesn't mean you shouldn't try. What matters is action. The decision to step up, to face your fears, and to push through discomfort. Change doesn't happen all at once. It happens when you choose to keep moving forward, even when it's hard or uncomfortable. So, if you recognize yourself in any of these stories, remember this. Your future self is waiting just like Anna, Carlos, and Lena's futures were waiting for them. The path isn't always smooth, but every step you take builds your new identity. Keep going. Keep trying. Your story is still being written, and it can be as inspiring as these daily practices to step into the new you. Now that we've talked about who your new self is and how the transition phase feels, let's focus on what you can do every day to step closer to that person. Change is a process, and like any process, it needs routine awareness and intention. It's the small things you do regularly, not big promises you can't keep, that make the biggest difference over time. One powerful daily practice is to talk to yourself like your future self would. Sounds a little strange, right? But think about it. The way you speak to yourself matters a lot. If you're always saying, "I can't do this," or "I'm not good enough," your mind will believe those things. Instead, try to imagine your new self, the confident, brave version of you, and speak like that person. Say things like, "I am learning," or "I can try even if it's hard," or "Mistakes help me grow." This simple shift in your inner voice creates new awareness and helps build a stronger mindset. Try it in the morning or anytime you feel doubt creeping in. Another practice is to say no to one old habit today. What is one behavior or thought that keeps you stuck? Maybe it's scrolling on your phone for too long instead of practicing English. Maybe it's avoiding speaking because of fear. Or maybe it's telling yourself negative things about your abilities. Whatever it is, decide to say no to that habit just for today. It might feel difficult at first. The old self will want to argue or find excuses, but this small act of refusal builds your intention and shows your mind that you're ready for change. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making better choices one at a time. Trying something new, even if it feels scary, is another great way to grow. You don't have to take huge risks. It can be as simple as starting a conversation in English with a classmate, reading out loud for 5 minutes, or writing a short journal entry about your day. These small steps push you just enough outside your comfort zone to build new confidence. Each time you try, you are practicing courage, even if the first few times feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is a sign that your new self is growing stronger. Here's a practice that can help you connect deeply with your future. Write a letter from your future self to your present self. Imagine you are the confident, successful person you want to be, writing back to encourage the person you are today. What advice would you give? What would you say to keep yourself motivated? This letter can be simple or long. The important thing is to use it as a tool for reflection. Read it whenever you feel unsure or need a reminder of why you started writing. This letter helps you see the distance you've traveled and the distance you're ready to go. As you try these practices, it's helpful to track your progress in a journal, notebook, or even a simple checklist on your phone. Write down your small wins, your struggles, and your feelings. This kind of reflection creates awareness about your journey. You begin to notice patterns when you feel most motivated, what holds you back, and what strategies work best for you. Tracking your progress makes the invisible growth visible. It reminds you that change isn't about huge leaps, but about consistent daily steps, and that's the key message. Small steps matter more than big promises. You don't have to change everything today. You don't need to be perfect. What you need is to start, to keep going, and to be kind to yourself along the way. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a step toward your new self. To recap, here are some simple daily actions you can begin with. Talk to yourself like your future self would, with kindness and encouragement. Say no to one old habit today that keeps you stuck. Try one new thing that feels a little scary but exciting. Write a letter from your future self and read it when you need motivation. Keep a journal or checklist to track your journey and celebrate your progress. By making these practices part of your routine, you build new habits, a new mindset, and a new identity. You show yourself every day that you are ready for transformation. And that's how the old self slowly lets go and the new self begins to shine. Your environment matters. Let's now talk about something that often gets ignored but is very important. For personal growth, your environment. When we talk about environment, we're not just talking about the weather or where you live. We're talking about the people you spend time with, the media you consume, the conversations you have every day, and the energy around you. All of this has a powerful effect on who you are and who you're becoming. There's a famous quote that says, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." Think about that for a moment. The people you spend time with every day influence your thinking, your habits, and even your goals. If you're always around people who complain, avoid growth, or stay stuck in fear, it becomes much harder for you to grow. But if you're surrounded by people who believe in change, who try new things, who speak positively, and who support your dreams, then that energy becomes a part of you, too. Your environment can either keep you stuck in your old self or help you grow into your new self. It works like a mirror. It reflects your values, your fears, and your ambitions. So ask yourself, are you surrounding yourself with people who support your growth? Do your friends challenge you in a healthy way? Do they encourage you when you try something new? Or do they laugh and say it's impossible? It's not just about people. Think about what you watch, listen to, and read. Are you filling your mind with content that helps you grow? Are you learning from others who have done what you want to do? Or are you spending hours scrolling through negative or unhelpful things that leave you feeling tired or small? Your daily input matters. Just like food affects your body, your mental diet affects your mind and spirit. Sometimes changing your environment doesn't mean cutting everyone off or moving to a new place. It can be as simple as choosing to spend more time with people who lift you up. It can mean joining a group where people are learning, growing, or practicing new skills like learning English, starting a business, or working on confidence. It can also mean spending less time with things that distract you or keep you in the same place. Changing your environment takes courage. It means letting go of what's familiar and stepping into something new. But remember, you can't become your future self if you stay in the same space that built your past self. Growth needs new energy. It needs fresh ideas, open conversations, and safe support. So today, take a moment to reflect. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with, either in person or online? What kind of energy are they giving you? And what kind of energy are you giving back? It's okay to make small changes. Maybe it starts with one positive conversation, one new friend, or one podcast that helps you grow. Your environment matters more than you think. And the good news is you can shape it. You can build a space online and offline that supports the version of you that you're working toward. As we come to the end of today's episode, let's take a moment to look back on what we've explored together. The most important message I want to leave you with is this: you can't be who you were and who you want to be at the same time. One of them has to go. This means that if you want to grow, if you want to step into the future you dream of, you need to let go of the old version of yourself, the one that holds you back with fear, doubt, and old habits. Change isn't easy, and it's not supposed to be. It asks us to choose courage over comfort, to step out of our safe zones and face the unknown. But here's the good news: courage doesn't mean you are never afraid. It means you keep moving forward in spite of that fear. When you choose courage, you open the door to new possibilities. You create space for your new self to grow, learn, and shine. So, I want you to ask yourself this important question: what part of your old self are you ready to leave behind? Is it the voice that tells you, "I can't"? Is it the habit of avoiding new challenges? Is it the fear of making mistakes? Maybe it's all of these, or maybe it's something else only you know. Whatever it is, naming it is the first step to releasing it. Thank you for showing up today, for being willing to listen, reflect, and work on both your personal growth and your English skills. That takes courage. That takes dedication. And you should feel proud of yourself for taking this step. Remember, every time you practice your English, you're not just learning a language, you're becoming a stronger, more confident version of yourself. The two journeys, language and growth, go hand in hand. If this episode gave you value, please consider subscribing so you don't miss future conversations like this. And I'd truly love to hear from you. What part of your old self are you ready to let go of? Or what small step have you taken toward your new self? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Your story might be the light someone else needs today. If you know someone, a friend, a family member, who could benefit from this message, please share this episode with them. We're all on this journey together, and the more support we give, the stronger we all become. And finally, please remember this: you are capable of more than you know. Your new self is waiting, ready to rise, ready to move forward whenever you are. Until next time, keep choosing courage, keep practicing your English, and never stop believing in yourself. You are doing an amazing job. Thank you for listening to English RNL. Remember to subscribe to the channel to receive the next part.